Simple but effective planche assessment today. This is a good one that you can do. I'm going to slowly increase the intensity of each planche position and see how far I can go through. You can do it on the floor, you can do it on P-bars. Today I'm not using any band assist. I have got another video coming with bands that I've asked you guys to send some videos in for. That will be really interesting to see. Today we're just going to start off with the easiest variations, slowly make them harder and harder and see how long we can hold for. It's a good test for everyone. Jump in. Let's first do a planche lean as a warm-up. So I'm making sure the arms are dead straight, I'm protracting, I'm turning the toes over, I'm leaning forwards as far as I can. So this is a beginner position, but also a position that everyone should use as part of their warm-up. So making sure the arms stay straight, making sure you're protracted, make sure you're looking forward slightly, and see if you can get an open hip, not a closed hip. Okay, next one, getting us ready for the tuck planche. So I'm going to go in a tuck planche position with my shoulders and my hips, and then I'm going to try and keep as much weight into the upper back and shoulders. Walk the feet forwards, trying to keep the hip in line with the shoulder the whole time. Still trying to work on that protraction, still making sure the arms stay dead straight. So just be careful with this one that we don't do this, or don't do this and put more weight back into our feet. We want to keep that weight into the hands and upper back, and the shoulders to stay in line with the hips, and the hips to stay in line with the shoulders. Okay, now a 10-second tuck planche position, but I'm going to have light toes. So this is really good if you're getting close to that tuck planche but can't quite lift your feet off. You could play with lifting up, alternate feet, holding in that position, trying to have the hips in line with the shoulders. Okay, next is the actual tuck planche. So I'm just going to hold this for 10 seconds. I can go to 20 or 30 seconds in this tuck planche position, but I'm going to use a 10-second cap on all the positions at the moment because I don't want to get too tired too quickly, and I'm trying to go through as many progressions as I can. So again, just trying to keep hip in line with shoulder. 3, 4, making sure them arms stay straight. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next is advanced tuck position. Now advanced tuck, we want to try and have the knees in line with the hips, and when we do that, so we've gone from this position in the tuck, advanced tuck goes to here, and we try and flatten out the back as best you can. So definitely when we start to go into the harder progressions, it's really good that you video from the side and check the video in between sets so you can see where your hip and shoulder is, see whether you're starting to collapse anywhere. Okay, now from the flat back position, I'm going to try and open up to more of a frog position. So not quite straddle, I'm still going to have the knees bent. Now when you go into this position, be careful that you don't do this. So if I start to take my knees back this way past the hip, it's actually making it slightly easier. So I need to make sure that my progressions make things slowly harder. So knees in line with the hips would be your advanced tuck position, and then I'm just going to move the knees away a little bit further into this frog position. Okay, now getting towards the fun stuff, we're going to go straddle. Now with the straddle, legs lock out, but I can do hard straddle or easy straddle. So easier straddle is more this position, so that'll be higher hip. Harder straddle would be this position, so more open hip. This is way harder than this. So first I'm going to start with the higher hip position. Now, it'll be interesting to see what you guys think. What's the difference between this open hip position in straddle and a half lay position? So a half lay would be open hip, but closed knees. So I actually probably find them about the same. So I'll start with the harder version of the straddle, and then I'll attempt a half lay. So I'm going to get like 3 or 4 seconds in that position. And again, I need to look back and check the camera to see where my hip actually is. One of the hardest things with the half lay position is getting into it. I'm not quite sure which is the best way. I'm going to try and step into it with one leg first and then bring the other leg up. You'll notice as well, I'm not talking when I'm actually in these planche holds now. I could do it on the easier variations. I can't do it on these ones. See what I mean? I'm getting roughly the same time as I did for that open hip straddle position. I do find with the half lay, I start to collapse a little bit. It doesn't feel like a quality position. Okay, one more variation before we go for the full planche. Now this one again is a little bit confusing on how easy or where does it fit in the stacking or the order of the progressions. So having one knee pulled into a tuck position and then one leg straight. So let's just try that, see how that goes. Personally, I think that's around the same intensity as the half lay position or the open hip straddle, or somewhere in between that and the higher hip straddle. Okay, now I'm going to go for my full planche attempt. In the past, I've got like 1 to 3 seconds, I would say, and you could argue whether I was in the perfect position, but the same as anything, when you're at that 1 rep max position, nothing's going to look pretty. Look at your 1 rep deadlift, and then you'll know what I mean. So goal is straight arms, protraction, open hip, legs squeezed together, toes pointed, big smile. Again, I've got no idea what happened there until I look back and watch the video. So let's have a look at some Handstand Two Planche. Another thing that I'd recommend that you do is do at least one video from the front so you can see what your planche positions look like. So if I go into a relatively easier position for me, so like a advanced tuck, you can see what the arms and elbows and what the shoulder blades look like videoing from the front, just so you don't know if you're holding more of this position, it really shows where things are. So looking from the front and from the side. So let's do one warm up with the Handstand to Planche. I'll go through a tuck planche. So the easier variation for me to hold, I know I can get this nearly every time. So normal handstand position. Now the hard bit when you come down into the planche hold off the handstand is to know how to round the back at the right time. Because if we don't start to protract on the way down, then you come down with this flat back position and you're a little bit collapsed through the scapula. You tend to just collapse a little bit too much, and then you have to push back out and up. So you'll see a lot of people, they'll come down into their planche position and then they have to do this secondary push back up, which obviously uses a lot more energy than using the correct pathway and going into the protraction on the way down. Okay, I'm going to do one straddle attempt now, so probably a little bit high hip to make sure I catch the straddle at the bottom, and then maybe try and open up into a more advanced position as I show control at the bottom. And then I'm going to do one full planche attempt as I lower from handstand. I'm probably going to have to open up to an easier position as I get to the bottom. So going into the straddle first, coming into protraction as best I can, opening the hip. Good rest for the finale. Now obviously you're not seeing my best attempts because the bed is not fully grown back yet, so once that gets back we are going to see some more time in that full planche position, but let's just see what I can get now. Handstand full planche attempt as low as I can in a straight position, and I'm going to have to open up at some point. There you go, nice ugly one to finish. Let me know down in the comments where you are in your planche journey. Let me know if you want any specific videos on relevant progressions to one you're doing. Now I do have that comparison video coming between the banded planche, so full planche position with a band around the ankles, and what planche position you guys can hold with no band. I want to compare the two and see how relevant the band around the ankles is. I know a lot of people say it's not the best way of training it, and I want to test that. Round the hips is supposed to be better, and I agree. The only issue is that if you've trained it like I have for a long time and do lots of press handstands, you'll lead with the hip all the time. In the full planche, we don't want to lead with the hip. We want to have an open hip, lead with the protraction. So it'll be great to see as many videos as I can of where you are with your planche with no band, and then what band you need to use to be in that full planche position with the band around your ankles. It should all make sense when I do the video, I think. Speak to you next time, guys.